Hey everyone, my name's Mike, and I wanted to show you a really cool feature where we just built on Socra that's related to memory, and we think it's a really big improvement on the current state of the art for memory and context retrieval, so we wanted to show you how it works. So I'm in a Socra space right now, and I'm going to first create what we call a journey. A journey is like a category or a thing that you want to do. It basically represents some sort of mission that you're working towards. In this case, I'm creating an example where I'm going to be learning Python. So I'll call it Learn Python Basics. Okay, once we've created our journey, we'll head over here to this new socra button. A socra is like an atomic unit of work or progress or knowledge, and it represents a single step on your journey to success. So that's a mouthful, but in practice, it usually means if something can be completed in a session, you should create a socra for it. So a single sitting, you should create a socra for it. So in this case, I'll pretend as though I don't know anything about Python, and I'll get started here. So this is what we call the socra detail. It has different attributes that help you progress through your journey. You can assign every socra a status, assignee, priority, due. These are pretty typical for platforms that track progress, but we're going to go ahead and get started to show you how this context works. And I'll get started by saying help me out. So at this point, our AI, what we're calling Cortex, is a very interesting agent. More on that later, but basically Cortex is going to pretend as though it's my second brain, and it's going to say we, I instead of you. And it's going to pretend as though it's an extension of me. So the more it knows about me, the better it can help me think, and the better it can pretend as though it is me. So it's getting started by saying, let's define what we want to achieve with this Python learning journey. What's our main goal? And I'd say, well, I don't know anything about Python. Let's learn. So Socra is here helping define what I'm trying to do. Learn Python fundamentals to build our first working program in 2 weeks. Sound good? None of this is crazy. This is something you can take care of with normal prompting. So it looks like Socra just reacted with an emoji, which is interesting, and then decided to reply. Socra has quite a few capabilities, but it's an interactive teammate on the platform, which is really interesting. So at this point, just to show you exactly how our memory system works, I'm going to pretend as though that's all I wanted to learn in this session. So at this stage, I'm going to head over to the status of this socra, and I'm going to mark it done. At this point, socra is going to start updating memory, and socra is going to talk about the progress. Socra is saying, hey, here's what we did in this session. We embarked on a journey to learn Python with the goal of grasping the fundamentals and building our first program in 2 weeks. And it talked about our key learnings, what we did, and what our next steps might be. The checklist for everything else we need to do. And so this represents basically a completed socra. Socra filled in this content with what we did. And where it gets more interesting is Socra took a summary of this content and also summarized it into the journey, meaning that it would have a portion or a subset of this learning in the journey itself, which means that the next socra that I complete or create within this journey will inherit this context and will be able to work with it. So as an example of how this worked, and let me just see, my teammate just said, hey guys, what's up? But I'm in the middle of a demo. At Ed, I'm in the and yeah, so if you didn't tell, Socra is actually the platform is an interactive platform where you can actually work with real humans in real time with our AI. So it's a pretty cool thing. But anyway, let's pretend as though we just learned we took our first step in learning Python, and we want to take step 2. So I'd create a new Socra, and I would say, what should we do? With normal chat tools, it'll have no idea. It'll have no idea that this chat even took place. It'll have no idea that there was progress, and it would have no idea what we should do next. But in our case, because because our context is summarized through the journey and in the space hierarchically, our AI is going to know exactly what we should do next, probably. So, yeah, it looks like we're diving into data types, starting with numbers and strings. And it didn't do a hello world program. So that begs the question, like, what does it remember? Socra says, based on our progress, because it remembers our progress, we've mastered variables and successfully ran our first Python program printing hello Python. The natural next step is exploring data types starting with numbers and strings. Let's create some hands-on examples to solidify these concepts. Amazing. So it remembered that we did that step. Great. So I'll continue with this socra for a bit until we've learned a little bit about data types and strings. And then once I'm done with this socra, I'll come back. Okay, so I've had enough of data types and strings, and I'm going to mark this socra as complete. So just like the last time, socra is going to get to work summarizing and updating its memory so that it'll have context for the next time. So in this case, it's updating memory, and it'll summarize what we've just done. It'll talk about our key learnings, anything that we've done, anything that it needs to know about for the next step. It'll also take care of interesting like details or facts that it may have acquired during the socra. So, for example, if there's some sort of personal detail that would be useful later on, it'll help remember that as well. And so if we now look at the summary of our journey, it should include not only the summary of our initial Hello Python world, or our initial Hello World functions, but it'll also include a summary of things that we've learned in terms of data types and strings, and it'll talk about what we should be doing next. So next, our journey suggests that we should be creating a simple calculator project to reinforce understanding of numbers and strings. So we can go ahead and do that. So it automatically knows that we're working on a calculator project, which is amazing because it's retained context from our first step and our second step, and now it's going on to a third step, which is amazing. So I could walk through this entire example of creating a calculator, and you get the gist by now. Everything that I talk about and say within this socra would be summarized into the content, and then the content will be basically remembered inside of this journey. So that's great and all, but what about like journeys inside of journeys? Like, let's say this represented a complex team dynamic, and you have organizations within organizations, or teams within teams, or projects within projects. And most other tools will not support this. They'll have one level of nesting, but in our case, we can support it. So for this calculator project, instead of creating a socra for the calculator project, what I'm going to do in this case is create a sub-journey. So sub-journeys are really cool because they allow you to nest projects within projects. So you can get context inherited from Learn Python Basics inside of the calculator project that we're about to build. So I'll just call it calculator project, and it's going to be inside of Learn Python Basics, and it's going to be a journey specifically for our calculator project. So here's the journey for Learn Python Basics, and here's the journey for our calculator project. So I'll just get started with what I typically do, which is like, okay, what should we do? And as you can see here, socra is going to do a great job of helping guide me through as if I am doing this for the first time. Socra is going to help me, given the context that it knows about me, it's going to help me do what I should be doing for the next step here. So here I can basically have all of the socras for this calculator project within this calculator project journey. And then when I'm complete with the calculator project journey, that context from the calculator project journey will automatically be updated into Learn Python Basics. So this is one of the really, really powerful things about Socra, is that the context is actually hierarchical. It's tree-like. So when I update content here, when I update content here, it not only propagates to the calculator project here, but it's also re-summarized with respect to the Learn Python Basics and all of its sub-journeys. So as a simple example, I could have other journeys within Learn Python Basics, like data structures. And I could have journeys for like matplotlib or pandas, like Learn Pandas, for example. Or web application, like simple Flask app. And each of these journeys each of these sub-journeys will have its own context, but that context will all inherit from this context here. So all of them will have the context of Learn Python Basics, but they'll each have their own memory for their own sub-project, which is perfect for like most project-based use cases have some sort of thing like this, where the socras inside of the sub-journey here really only need to know about their immediate parent and the parent above them. They don't necessarily need to know about siblings, but that's also something that Socra can support. So now that we've looked at some of the basics of how journeys can nest inside of each other, I wanted to extend it a little bit further. So for our use case, for building Socra, we actually have a very comprehensive tree. So we have quite a lot of stuff inside of our tree. And the context here is invaluable. We don't have to repeat ourselves ever to our AI because it automatically understands what we're talking about, because we've already provided it context in the containing journeys where we create socras. So whenever we're trying to make progress within a particular sub area of our platform, we just have to create a socra within that sub project. And then whatever progress we make on that socra is automatically summarized into the journey that it's contained in, and the journey that contains that, and so on, all the way up to our space root. This is invaluable for companies working on complex projects, because it means that when individual contributors and people on leaf nodes make progress towards things, that progress can be rolled up into the corresponding parents, so that organization owners, like organization business unit owners, can know exactly what's going on within their business unit and how they're progressing, and whether they're making progress towards their goals, which is amazing. That's the end goal. And I'll just switch back to my Python space here. I've got a lot of spaces here on Socra. Spaces are really great for Python, or spaces are really great in Socra, but I'll just switch back to my Python journey here to summarize here. So to summarize, we have journeys which provide a nested way of having a deep project structure. We have socras, which represent an atomic unit of progress or work, and we have anytime you make progress on the socra or activity, as soon as you mark it done, our AI gets to work updating memory so that it can learn and incorporate the learnings into the containing project journeys. And that's basically how it works. So over time, this is extremely valuable, because it basically means that whenever you are working on projects within projects, or you need context specific to a particular thing, whether it's your company's overall projects or maybe your personal fitness goals, having that nested context is absolutely essential, and it's been super helpful. I don't usually make videos, but I made this video here today because since I built this feature, I haven't been able to stop using it, and it's the first time that I felt like AI can finally learn and improve over time, which is something that no other tool exhibits. And I had to share it to you guys today. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. I know it's not a perfect video by any means, but and the feature is not fully complete, but I hope you get the idea, and I really hope you give us some feedback on where we can improve on this. So I guess that's it. Thank you.